Well, my next guest is someone who I really, really love talking to. She's an inspiration, she's a mentor, she's been a champion sporting athlete over many, many years, and I'm talking about Rachael Sporn. Rachael, welcome.
Thank you, Mark.
How are you going?
Great. Yeah, no, life's good. You know, we're getting older, but it's okay. I can't believe that I've been retired from basketball for 15 years. It's like, where has that gone?
Is it 15 years?
Yeah, 15 years. Doesn't seem like it.
Isn't that incredible? And you've had a family sort of...
Yes, that means my children are older. So Taya is 17, so she was 2 when I went to Athens, and she's driving now, so that's changed my life.
Wow.
So, yes. And
a few nerves there in the early
but
stages.
I'm good now. And my son, Cade, he's 13.
What do you miss most about not competing at that highest level?
I think it really is like you're in a sort of a bubble. It's not a normal world, but it's a wonderful world. And I think mainly touring with your teammates because the travel was amazing, and and when you're on tour, it means you're mainly playing, not training. Training, I don't miss that at all. But just the, you get a lot of adulation, a lot of pats on the back, and you become, in some ways, you have to be a very selfish person to be an elite athlete.
And your life's looked after for you too,
very
isn't
much,
it?
yeah, very much. So I think you are very spoilt in a lot of ways, and when that all stops, it's like, oh, okay, I'm back in the real world. So when you're actually playing and living that, it feels like it's going to last forever, but of course it doesn't. So when I do ever speak to athletes who are starting out, it's, you really do have to make the most of every minute because it doesn't last forever, and basketball gave me a very privileged life and a lot of amazing experiences along the way.
Did you get more out of playing for the Opals? You played 304 games for the Opals and captained them as well. Did you get more out of that than you did playing and captaining the Lightning?
Yeah, I guess I just felt very lucky because they were side by side. Yeah. So Lightning prepared me to be a better player for the Opals. So, but then of course the Opals takes you to the world stage, the Olympics. So it is on another level, and what I love about the Opals is that your opponents in the WNBL become your teammates. Yeah. So that's the best thing, I think, playing for Australia and your country, is having those teammates that you've been battling with all those years are suddenly your teammates, was pretty special.
So the level from the Lightning up, playing for the Opals, playing at World Championships, as you said, 3 Olympic Games for 3 medals. What's the difference? Well, I mean, what are the main differences in that spike in level?
Definitely the pressure. It's just the calibre of players. So the intensity, the standard is higher, and the WNBA sort of prepared me, helped with that too, because playing in the WNBA was like playing for the Opals. It was like an international match every game. So you have to be a better defender, you have to be able to create your own offence, you just have to go to the next level. So in WNBL again certainly helps you reach that level, but it's been interesting over the years when some standout WNBL players haven't been able to make that jump to the international level.
Yeah. So what about the build-up to a World Championship or the build-up to the Olympics? How did you as an athlete handle that in terms of you preparing, but also too the media scrutiny and the media focus?
Well, it's always a 4-year plan, and I was actually lucky enough to be at the Olympic processing just for the 2020 athletes at SASS a couple of weeks ago, and it was just on the 12 months out, and I still remember when it was 12 months, like, oh my God, it's 12 months out. So
it's like an anniversary.
And it goes so quickly, and you just want to make sure that you fitness is at the right level, and as soon as it is 12 months down and counting, the media attention certainly picks up. But that's when you're a team, part of a team, that sort of media attention, you welcome it because you want that profile for your sport.
Absolutely.
And because the Opals historically have been successful, it's always been very positive. So the build-up is amazing. And I guess Olympics is interesting because obviously is the pinnacle, and it's just the best experience in the world. But when it's over, it's such a relief because you are on high levels of stress and, you know, the standards you want to reach and expectations. So when it is over, it's like, oh my God, thank goodness for that. And that's why the closing ceremony is so much fun, because opening ceremony, amazing, but you're still, you know, highly stressed and just want everything to go right. You don't want to use up too much energy. You just want to do everything right. Whereas closing, it's just, party and enjoy.
I want to talk to you about after the Sydney Olympics, and we'll do that in a second, but I want to just ask you, the lead up to the Sydney Olympics for you was extraordinary.
Not ideal.
No.
So I was playing for Detroit Shock in the WNBL. It was July 29, 1999. So it was 13 months out from the Sydney Olympics. Yeah. And I'd only missed one game in 14 years from an ankle sprain. So I went up in the game, we were playing Cleveland, I went up for a routine intercept of a lob and I came down, and when I landed on my right leg, my kneecap went left and my tibia hit my femoral condyle. And the pain was excruciating. I hadn't had a child at that point, so I didn't know what to compare it with. But I knew it was bad, hadn't had any surgery ever. So within 5 minutes I was told it was my ACL, which is the worst 3 letters you can hear as an athlete, and particularly 13 months out from Sydney. So the problem was too, that I hadn't just done my ACL and others, I had that impaction fracture was the worst my surgeon had seen in 2,000 cases. So I was flown straight from Detroit to Melbourne, the only time I've ever flown first class. So that was good. Straight to David Young, who did the surgery, and thank God he was brilliant because he got the smoothness back to my femoral condyle. If he hadn't, it would have kept shedding and probably would have ended my career. So I'm very grateful to him. So, and I'm extremely lucky in that I had amazing support from my coach and physio. I wasn't allowed to drive for 6 weeks. I was flown from Melbourne, obviously, to home to recuperate. And usually, as you know, with ACLs, it's 12 months. We only had sort of 13, and obviously I had to get selected. I had to make sure I was able to play and get selected. So within 7 months, I was back training, 9 months back playing. And
you made it.
On July 15, the team was announced, and September 15 was the opening ceremony.
Wow, I mean that in itself is an extraordinary story.
Big dangling carrot though, Mark, Sydney Olympics.
I'm sure. Now, a couple of quick ones, because I want to finish off with what you're doing now, but just very briefly explain what happened to you and some athletes after the Sydney Olympics.
Yeah, so when you have an Olympic Games, it's 17 days, so you want to be magnificently healthy for that entire time. You've prepared for 4 years for this moment. And I got bacterial sinusitis 3/4 of the way into the tournament. So I had no energy. I had to go into isolation for 4 days. I wasn't allowed to, I had to miss the quarterfinal. I went to the game, I wasn't allowed to sit on the bench. I had to sit up in the crowd. So for me, the Olympics experience wasn't what I had hoped it would be. And I was devastated that I missed a game and wasn't very well for a couple of games. Also found out that Matt Shervington had the same, because he had to pull out of his semi for 100 or 200. I offered to be roomed with Matthew, by the way.
You what?
But I offered to be roomed with him in isolation.
Right. And
but
Maury
they didn't
knows
let me.
about that,
Yes, he does.
Maury, of course, is Rachel's husband.
So after so we went on to win silver, and I got to play in the gold medal game, and that was great. But it was when I got back home to Adelaide and the WNBL started, I just found my motivation I just fell in a hole.
Wow.
And didn't understand why, because I've always loved the game so much. So I was recommended to go to a certain sports psychologist. And they were able to absolutely turn me around.
And you're okay now?
I'm fine. So there is actually, it's called post-Olympic depression, so there's POD. So there is a name for it. It seemed, and it's hard to admit to it because it seems like, really? Did I really have that compared to what other troubles some people go to or have in their life? So I guess for me, she was able to concentrate on all the positives from the Olympics rather than me concentrating on the negatives. I still had a silver medal. All my family were able to come to watch me, all those sort of things.
And I'm pleased you're well.
Yes, thank you.
Now, as we conclude, and thank you so much, you're doing something very, very important. I mean, you've done something very important all your life, but you're doing something, again, very important in terms of your role.
So for 6 years I was with the Australian Melanoma Research Foundation,
Yep.
which I loved. So I left there, and I'm now an education presenter for ASADA, so the Australian Sports Anti-Doping Authority, which is very topical, you know, with Shayna Jack and Willie Rioli recently. So I love that I'm back amongst the elite sporting environment, because we present to all different, we presented at SASS. I've been all over Australia presenting to swimming, basketball, baseball, triathletes, pretty much in the hope that we just stop inadvertent doping or accidental doping.
So you're educating people.
Educating people, and so ASADA have developed an app, because when you're an athlete, you just can't take whatever medicine you want. You can't take whatever supplement you want. You just, it's too risky of there being a banned substance in there. So yeah, it's really rewarding.
It's wonderful.
And just loving that opportunity. I just keep getting drawn back to sport, like you do, Mark. Getting drawn back to sport.
Yeah. Well, I get drawn back to sport, but not the physicality, not the physical side. Rachel, always good to catch up.
Thank you.
And you look fantastic. You look really well. You're obviously very happy. You've been a great achiever on the court, and now you're doing some great stuff off the court. So I thank you very much indeed.
Thank you, Mark. Pleasure as always.
Thank you.